Hey man, how are you?
When how are you doing?
Good, just fixing my hair. It's a bit of a mess this morning.
No problem, no problem.
Oh, how are you?
Very well. How was your trip overall to Chile?
It was very good. The
That,
Andes are beautiful, so it was very nice.
that's great. That's great. So, are you back in your seat again? Things under control?
Yes. Well, they always were under control, but
Okay.
now it's
Okay.
being back in the States being in control, but it's
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Yeah.
All good.
So, as you know, the subject of our discussion is attention economy,
Hmm.
and just recently I found out that when you last spoke, I told you that the attention span is like 40 seconds or 30 seconds, compared to 2004 when it was 2.5 minutes. Latest is that our attention span has gone down to 8 seconds,
It's pretty terrible.
one more than the goldfish. So, the goldfish that we used to make fun of, that he has the attention span of a goldfish. Now human beings have an attention span of 1 second more than the goldfish.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so I come from a background of like the AI and a lot of the products market and all that kind of stuff. What we're seeing a lot is people's attention span is being monetized. Um, and I think there's kind of a misinterpretation, or rather a bastardization of the attention is all you need paper, where it discusses, the whole point of like people's attention is what you can capture with all these tools and feed into the new like algorithms and everything else, right? Which describes the entire economy nowadays.
Yes.
But when we think about it, 1 second to the internet is really 8 seconds because there's eight things or more, right?
That's right.
Feeding from your attention span.
That's right.
And so the whole question is like how um, can we reclaim our personal attention to what we want to do, be passionate about, and reward ourselves not on these short loops that like TikTok and Reels have and everything else, and even frankly, LinkedIn is a terrible platform now in
Right.
regards to what it feeds you.
Right.
Um, rather to like reclaim value to do the things that truly matter.
Right.
Um, there's a quadratic scaling to how people's attention is being like fed to different like platforms and everything else, and it's heavily monetizable,
Yes.
and you're even more influenced by these things. That's
Right.
kind of like what I've been thinking about as we go into this discussion.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about that?
I totally endorse you and I totally agree with you. When it comes to monetization, I am from the days of SEO, and I remember, all these various, article distribution or publication directories that we used to have. And it was along on the same grounds, on the same lines, that you have to come up with written material that is knowledgeable, that is informative, and it's not just us, because there was art at one point. It got so saturated that there were article spinning software, for every word. They were creating multiple versions of the same article, just spreading it all over the Google. But now that you just opened a new window in my head when you said that LinkedIn is also going in the same direction, and then it was just a flashback for me that when it comes to because my PhD was in image marketing and the role of
Yeah.
strategic advertising in image marketing, which included visuals and words predominantly, because I was coming from a background of advertising, so words and visuals were, whether it was print media, whether it was electronic media, outdoor. So coming circling back to what you just said about LinkedIn and monetization of it, in terms of I mean again. people are coming up, throwing stuff into ChatGPT and asking it, to come up with a post which can get that
Exactly.
action.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go at it where it's. I think the transformer itself, as the way that we chose as a society to engage in AI at large, has been destructive to us in terms of our attention spans because the transformer, to feed it and to make it more valuable, we have to um, feed it our attention span and changed everything to what we pay attention to. It didn't need recursive convolution; it just needed attention itself.
Yes.
And what that kind of means, I mean, look at, for example, XAI with Grok and X.
Hmm.
I mean, the training data is Twitter, which is an infamous example of exactly the problem you're talking about.
Hmm.
And it's the entire training set now for one of the most powerful foundational models out there, right? It's one of the big five.
Right.
And so when we think about this and how AI is inexplicably tied to this problem and the
Yes.
feeding of AI is tied to this problem,
Right.
it kind of begs the question of how valuable are these foundational models beyond
Hmm.
the short attention span human output?
Right. I mean, now, again, you have a brilliant way to put things, it activated another thing in my brain
Sure.
that uh, now that every notification is vowing for our attention, uh, now it's going towards saturation because that attention span is not there, and now it's only 8 seconds. So
Totally.
that tank that we had of 2.5 minutes, or maybe with the advent of internet, or maybe when it became mainstream, we talk about 97, 96. Then we had probably more 5 minutes of attention span, and they could get a mileage of 4 minutes and 48
Yeah. Some
seconds.
odd. Yeah.
So now that's gone. And now, and with AI, and like you mentioned, Big Five, the thing is that I wrote a book called Automation versus Autocracy back in 2017, and which I had predicted that automation will be a source towards autocracy. And so what happened, when Twitter was bought, and then the election was kind of, and it was an upset for a lot of people. So now, with what you just said, it is, we just have 8 seconds, and AI. And so automation is just glorified form of AI. I mean, AI is a glorified form
Totally.
of automation, because now you can feed more focused data into it, and algorithm more tight, and to get desired results. Like, for example, I went to Expedia for one of my previous bills I needed for my audit, and they just the AI assistant was just fooling me around, wasting my time, and then also it did not let me get in touch with a human being for like 2 3 days.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I will
giving.
say though, if we think about, I mean, you were calling back to 97, 96 when you had 5 minute attention spans, kind of,
Yeah.
whether it's true or not, it's at least like minutes long as compared to seconds long.
Right.
Um, and if we think about it, it's actually kind of interesting the current evolution of AI, how we're having this replacing of people, whatever. But the thing is, if you look back at the old studies, they also back in the 90s and early 2000s were also talking about the office worker spends an average of like 30 minutes a day doing actual work.
Right. That is
Now
true.
that's why AI is displacing that, is because an AI that is basically has the intelligence of a 4-year-old child that is regurgitating whatever it hears as a parakeet
Yes.
at an 8 second attention span a piece per token, right?
Right. Right.
It's just throwing back out these things, and yeah, I can make 30 minutes worth of content.
Right.
That's totally easy for the AI to do.
That's
So of
right.
course the AI and the foundational models we currently have
Yeah.
are and being refined are being able to pierce these workplaces and displace these economies because the way that we have our situation set up with the economy and the attention span and everything else and the actual work that we have to do in the office space and that we have rewarded and educated humans to do has been so ineffective and has been so disengaging, disenfranchising, and
Thank you.
unrewarding for humans to engage in.
Thank you. Thank you
Uh,
for that word, ineffective, because it is, and like I said, there is a necessary evil. There's good and bad, and then there is a necessary evil because when Walmart switched to self checkout, or when PayPal said that no, your activity is suspicious and you have been locked out, and no supervisor can help you, and the algorithm is going to work it out on its own, and it's going to take a couple of days to rectify your situation. It was or McDonald's going totally, with no or registers, and just everything now ordered through app. So this is or for example, Uber. The collapse of the yellow cab, and then it's all efficiency basically, like you just said.
yeah, sure.
I mean,
And
because
with that too, if I can say, I mean, we have this discussion that's currently within the zeitgeist around people being displaced and what that will mean for the economy and people's livelihood, right? If you cannot work because the AI is doing the job, have the robot doing the work, then what are you going to do? I do believe that there'll be some like new political economy that comes out of this that we have not discovered yet. The same way that we did back in like, as we saw mercantilism go to capitalism.
thank you.
I think we'll have a
Yes,
similar evolution occur with the AI revolution as well.
yes,
But in that same vein, it's interesting to see that being a anxiety because I think it's very real.
yes,
But I think really the answer lies in this question where we can lean into what gives us the passion and the attention that grabs us
right,
will be what humans are good for is that long attention span,
right,
that truly qualitative work
right.
that only humans can do and are assisted by AI.
Thank you. Yes, yes, that's right.
And
Because
on the other end too, to kind
yeah,
of like loop that in back on the technicalities, in startup world, right, we're seeing the same thing, which is that you don't need all this custom infrastructure, right? You can build one extremely powerful, very deep niche as a layer on top of these foundational models and everything else. I mean, it's with all these new tools out there, it's even easier to become, have a product launch within like 24 hours. Um, so having one layer and everything's AI nowadays, right? The AI comes to the niche.
hmm,
No one had to go to AI; it came to them.
hmm,
Uh, so you need one layer that captures and directs attention, whether it's user, investor, or algorithmic relevance. And what that means is the startups that win are not building models or smarter models. That's
hmm,
how it was like 5 years ago, 2 years ago. They're building better attention loops. The interfaces that create the user activity and makes them thought to action with less friction
right,
allows them to feed back to their niche of the foundational model that lets us compress our time complexity and amplifies our signal.
right,
It's
right.
kind of like you don't rebuild transformers to do your own thing. You build on top of it. It's
Yes,
not like anybody's rebuilding TCP/IP for
right.
their own their own
That's correct.
SaaS. You're
That is
building on
correct.
the internet. Like
That is
just
correct.
lean into what's already there.
That is correct. I mean, like you said, uh, what I the again, you activated another point in my head that around the 20th century, around the turn of 20th century, when there was mass industrialization, there
Yeah,
was this panic there as well, then as well, and the psychological shift that required in terms of trend, and being in technology myself, you and I myself, uh, I am viewing it as a tool. I mean, it is good and bad, and it's mostly good because number one, it's gearing us towards efficiency. Number two, when, for example, you just mentioned about AI in startup world, I was speaking to this company, and they wanted AI to develop apps. I said, and they wanted me to, join them as a co-founder. But I said the thing is that I have tried AppGyver and Bubble.com and no code technologies. But the thing is, they can create Me Too products. If you want to replicate an existing app, yes, it can help you, but AI cannot identify the demand. AI cannot identify the need of or a problem that has to be solved. So at the end of the day, like you mentioned, the qualitative stuff. It has to be, and again, the perks will be better. And for example, initially, when there was a keyless or a card-based check-in at the hotels, it was a big hue and cry. And I have some, in my college school days, I used to work in the front office of Sheraton and Marriott, and I thought, this is like people's livelihood is in trouble. But now it's again efficiency, and human beings can be geared for more qualitative, where there is more allocative efficiency, and also this concept of mass repetitive work like assembly line sort of a work, that's going away, because look at auto industry, look at Tesla, and in many, and I mean, robots are there in because it's not only the human error issues, it's also about the what can be lifted and what can be, now they're talking about sending robots to, I mean, they are already sending robots to Mars, and even into war zones, because if there is no intellectual attached involved, then let's use AI.
Yeah, I think the word that keeps popping up is efficiency,
Right.
and I actually think I have a problem with that word,
Uh-huh.
because I think it sort of begs this question, and it evokes this idea in our heads of like making things better and better and better all the time. But I think it has a wrong set of values and ethics behind it.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's the job of humanity to become more efficient. I think our tools need to be more effective, but
Right.
efficiency as humans is not really like the whole point. Like, there's a human level that like I think needs to be kind of addressed. Um, and I think everyone knows that. We don't have to talk about it out loud, right? It's the
Right.
to live your life and everything like that, and all the connections that you have in your life, and all the value that has. And I think everyone is very focused on the efficiency because we have for thousands of years been focused on, like ever since agriculture, right? Focused on how does the individual within a society contribute the most.
Right.
And now that we're having agents within AI that are able to do these tasks and create this value that is not by hand or by a proxy of hands, like a
Hmm.
keyboard,
Hmm.
you are seeing now this big shift in the economy. But we have to rethink, I think, what efficiency means in the human context. I don't think that's like I think it's going to become an artifact pretty quick
Right.
of thinking.
Right. I mean, I totally agree with you. And again, circling back, because our psychological needs and desires are, just the same what they used to be in, previous centuries. But like you rightfully said, it has adapted and it
Yeah,
has transcended in context of our sensitivities and in context of the prevailing trends. And then likewise our consciousness also reciprocates accordingly, because the notion of improvisation or efficiency, or just making sure it doesn't go towards marginal returns or marginal rate of substitution, and losing its efficacy in in long term, uh, begs again to the formal or the traditional way of how jobs were done, especially now in context of virtual or remote working, and like you said, back even in 80s, they used to say that it's, if you accumulate the entire time spent on the work, it's 30 minutes. So now they're asking for digital breaks, because
yeah,
yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like focusing while driving. How long can you focus, how long can you concentrate before your car tells you now you need to have a break? So these are the areas which require ironically attention, but at the same time, it needs, like you said, redefinition because I met Andrew Yang around 2020, and he was talking
Mhm.
about universal basic income, and I just told him that it's not possible right away, although that even then Switzerland had already started it, and many other European economies were already working on it, but the idea that how human beings will be satisfying their needs and wants, or have disposable income, or have a livelihood, will need revisiting and reform, or actually mindset reboot, because
Yeah.
we are not ready, I mean, intellectually speaking, and psychologically, we are not ready, and people are accustomed to again those traditional models, and even in the shift of in terms of career, that people thought that I'll be a lawyer, then I'll be a lawyer forever, and if I'm a doctor, I'll be a doctor forever, and likewise in any other field. So it needs, because initially technology adapts to user experience or user needs or psyche, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I have two. Go ahead if you had to finish it.
no, 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 yeah, I made my point. Yeah.
I think I have two kind of reactions to that. The first is I apologize. I have to throw in some nuance around the political economies of European countries versus American
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah.
Um, America meaning United States of America, because of the choices that have been made in the political to orient the economy a certain way. The United States is the economy as of time of recording of the world,
Mhm.
and the we have always in the United States made choices politically that have been not in necessarily the uh, interest of comfort, but rather in the interest of efficiency. So it kind of goes back to that human aspect I was discussing before, whereas the European countries have.
Mhm.
I think there's, speaking from an American perspective, United States American perspective,
Mhm.
looking at our cousins over in Europe,
Mhm.
um, within history, I think we are, as Americans, seeing them make these choices politically,
Mhm.
um, and we think of them as like either being advanced for them or being behind for them or kind of being naive. When reality is they make some very calculated decisions on what to do
Mhm.
because they're not worried about being number one and like beating China
Right.
every single quarter
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
They're worried about like how do we make sure that our economy is stable enough to ensure that our citizens have a quality of life that
Mhm.
we are happy and proud of.
Right.
This is not necessarily, I think, the matrix upon which the United States judges itself upon. I think we have other things we care about in terms of our values and moral fabric,
Mhm.
which could be good or bad. It's up to the personal, right? Um, and then within that, if we talk about like going back to the attention economy itself and the technology and how it changes the user
Mhm.
and user experience,
Right.
I kind of go back to like the Luddite era, right, where you have these. Take for example the sewing machine and everything else. You have
Right.
these people working by hand for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time before they
Right.
take a break, right?
That's
That's
right.
a long attention span.
That's right.
Machine comes around, replaces that, and then they go to minutes, single digit minutes, right?
That's right.
And that's kind of, I think, the incremental change that's been going on through history of
Mhm.
attention span.
Mhm.
I think we probably capped out around like maybe like an hour or two because like you till the fields for a couple hours and take a break, then go
That's
back to it, then you take a break, right?
that's right.
Probably our cap. We never like I think had like multi-hour
Mhm.
attention spans, but we
Mhm.
definitely had like 30 minutes, and then we went down to like five
That's
after
right.
the revolution of the industry
That's
back in the 1800s. And I
right.
think the Luddites had a. I'm saying this during the AI revolution.
Yes.
The Luddites had kind of a point to
Yeah.
a portion of their disagreement with the revolution, where they're
Right.
speaking to the debasement of the human experience.
Mhm.
I think we're seeing that today with how the same tools within AI, in terms
Right.
of its potential to change society, is sort of making a gross simulacra of the human experience
Mhm.
within its what it tries to imitate as.
Yeah.
I kind of respect Grok and its framing a little better than OpenAI's. 'Cause I think OpenAI ChatGPT tries to be a little more human, which I think is
Right.
like I don't want my machine imitating me. I want my
Right.
machine to be itself. Like if it
Right.
has AGI or sentience, whatever, that's great.
Right.
They're different species, right? Like
Right.
there's a distinction there, right? Um, I think a lot of models like Grok or Claude, I think, kind of speak in a tone that is more unique in its own, as opposed to what you might see from like ChatGPT.
Right.
Um, and I think like apologies for the tangent, right? But I think when we talk about that user changing, look at like the people who are resistant to the Web3 and AI going on right now
Mhm.
with these AI models, the foundational models, and everything else, where
Mhm.
they reject the how much it's been integrating in society, how quickly and effectually, as well as how in some areas offensively
Right.
to the human experience and our society.
Right.
I mean, a few years ago, we had people who were rejecting NFTs
Mhm.
because of a similar sensation,
Yes.
and I think it's kind of all wraps around like the same things, and it's like the history rhymes aspect, where I think the Luddites, even though they lost history,
Right.
there's something to be reviewed there on what the loser had to say,
Right.
because it doesn't mean that they were wholly wrong,
Right.
or that they were wrong morally or ethically, just that they lost out on the material engagement of capital.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, when you talk about the offensive extent, I was speaking to my friend Danielle, and she said, when I talk to ChatGPT, it's better than telehealth to me because ChatGPT is being honest, and the telehealth doctor doesn't want to lose his or her license, by advising something, out of the line. So and then ChatGPT processes information, whatever is available all over the internet, and talks to me in the way that I want to be, heard honestly. And if I have side effects, and if my symptoms are not going, then what's the point of having such doctor? Similarly, I recently did a course, whether AI in the law. But at the end of the day, at the end of the course, I realized that I don't know whether the law needs AI or that whether AI needs law. You know, uh,
Chicken and egg, right?
Yes, and again, I was speaking to my friend Pasi yesterday in Helsinki, and he said that Americans create, and China copies, and Europe regulates. So, so, so he was like spot on. I said.
It's a very northern hemisphere centric viewpoint, but yeah,
Yes.
I get you.
And I said in 80s and 90s, it used to be that Europe was, or even mid 19th century, mid 20th century, that Europe was the pioneer, and Japan used to copy, and America used to adapt. And but now the games, the situation has kind of changed, again in context of
Well,
attention economy. Yeah.
in the 19th century, America would copy Europeans.
Yes, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we stole a lot of the steam engine and everything else from the Europeans.
Yes.
And then after, I think the big shift happened between the 20s and 40s
Right.
with the wars and everything else, and the economy's really shifted.
That's right. And but
Um,
again, many of them were, migrants from Europe as well. So
Totally,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, you have so many people coming from the European region to America, and also from other regions as well, like from Japan and from China and South America, coming into America
yeah,
to contribute to the network of innovation.
right. So I toss a complex question to you.
Okay.
What do you think the effect of tariffs will be in terms of these products get traction? Because my friend Passy was extremely there is kind of an uncertainty as to how this will all work out. So what do you think that
Yeah.
attention plays a long big role in not only in terms of the success of these products, many online products, an
Let
app
me
economy, so to say, but the attention factor and the mileage that we get, especially in context of startups and new products and how they are received?
Interesting question. Let me split it into two.
Okay.
One, I think we're very focused on tariffs because of the effect it has on the stock market
Hmm.
and how that affects venture capital and the startups as a downstream effect of that. It's all part of one package, right? And the second is the tariffs as it relates to the actual performance of the economy as they are as policy when they go into effect.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll answer the second one first because I think it's the easier one to answer because it's shorter.
Right.
I think it's very clear to everyone now that these tariffs are changing every day as to the policy. I mean, I think we saw, um, beginning of the week, the change of there's exceptions being added, et cetera, so forth. Right? There's some countries that are having discussions and negotiations with the United States.
Right.
It's very inconsistent, which is part of the problem.
Hmm.
But that is also again what's going on,
Hmm.
and I think that's what's happening, and part of the problem for the stability of the economy. So that's then I'll move into the other half.
Right.
Um, Stock market is an emotional meter. People's attention span around that is what it's for. I mean, I think you saw um, people that pulled out intelligently did so 2 months ago,
Yes,
um,
like Warren
and
Buffett.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
people that were paying attention with
Right.
that long view did so then. The time to pull out was not a week ago; it was about 2 months ago.
Right.
So that's what we're partially seeing, as well as I think when it relates to startups, um, I think, and I'll talk about attention span of VCs here a little
Yeah.
bit within my experience, being a 3X founder, is you have this perspective for venture capitalists and to a portion also debt capitalists as well,
Mhm.
who they sort of see things, I think, in their own framework
Yes.
as a long view, when in reality, they're very emotionally driven on the short view.
Mhm.
And many of them also live in the past as well.
That is right.
Could be 2025, but some of them are still thinking about how do I get some you know, um, 20-year-old dropout to build me an app, right?
Right.
That'll make me $1 million, right? That or $1 billion, right? Whatever. That's like still how some of them view it.
Right.
When that's not been the way that because of the enabling tools we have, the way things have worked for a long time.
Hmm.
I think we're seeing now a shift from technicality being king to now product and go to market being king
Hmm.
because of how these tools are able to enable one to go from idea to iteration within hours.
Right.
And so, as this attention economy shifts, we're seeing, you know, founder attention spans need to be very focused on can I iterate quickly and through with my attention on my project or projects.
That's right.
And then the venture capitalist is can I be focused on my niche well enough and not get excited by how quickly things are moving?
Right.
We saw this with AI the past 6 months, where, well, more like 10 months,
Mhm.
where venture capitalists, I think, have been very excited around AI and how exciting it is.
Mhm.
And I think I said earlier in this call, but the what's been happening is AI is coming to the niche. So
Mhm.
you have venture capital and debt capital focus in certain areas,
Mhm.
and the venture capital is experiencing the AI coming to them after they spent money
Right.
throwing it over there.
Right.
And
That's
it's these some of these models died out, whatever, and we're seeing now again. I pointed to earlier these foundational infrastructural models,
right. That's so
and also
scary.
again to throw out there, people were throwing around the term wrapper like it
Right.
was a slur 6 months ago, and
Ah,
now all the best products are wrappers.
right. Right. I mean, it's scary, and the way you put it, from VC's perspective, that I was speaking to Passy yesterday, and he is a VC himself, and it was the exact same perspective. And he was talking in context of Latvia and Lithuania, and
Hmm.
how they perceive again the risk factor when it comes to investing in such projects or startups. And then I told him that, this is where the United States is standing out, because we are open to risk, and good or bad, in terms of regulation. Maybe our I think this government has more technocrats, aligned, like Elon and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, uh, encouraging or receptive about how things are going on. But at the
I
same,
think it's less so that it's interesting. It's a good, partially, I think I agree, but also some people are not American. I mean, Elon Musk is South African,
right, right,
distinctly not American in terms of his nationality. He came to this country for the opportunity to get represented for him.
that's right. Yeah,
And that's very true for many entrepreneurs,
right,
right, who come from all these other countries.
right,
And I think it comes down to, again, that political economy component I discussed earlier, where there's a lot of choices America has made in its past to create the cradle it has now for innovation as compared to other countries.
right,
There's a reason why Silicon Valley is so successful, and there's many, many factors going
right,
back to the World Wars and the Cold War and the development going on there. Um, all the best companies in Silicon Valley that are the FANG companies, most of them have had interactions with, the defense companies out here as well, like Lockheed and Raytheon and Martin before it became Lockheed Martin,
right,
and all of that. So I think there's things to discuss there and understand there, as well as when it comes to the political economy, how much there is capital to throw around, as
mhm,
opposed to distributed capital to um, support a healthy lifestyle. There's a lot of in comparison to European countries,
right,
a lot of austerity that is in America
that's right.
because it encourages this venture capital mindset that occurs. Venture
Yes,
capital is less effective in Europe because of the way they've structured themselves, which is okay. I mean, there's other things that they've benefit from greatly for it.
right, right,
But in America, there's different choices that have been made around how our economy is structured to allow for that industry to thrive here.
right. But at the same time, you can see that uh, they are unable to create any Googles or Ubers or Facebooks or
I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's more so a black hole effect, where I think no one's tried because all the really, really good people over that could do it just come over here and do it here anyways.
yeah.
I mean, look at some of the greatest apps of the past year have been primarily foreign nationals
Okay.
in being in America, right? I mean, Vercel isn't Vercel Argentinian, right?
Mhm.
Like these people come from all over the world to come and interact and integrate into the fabric we have here of innovation and technology.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but I
again,
think it's also it speaks to what the government has made as a choice
mhm,
over the past century to encourage that. And I think that we zoom out, we think of it kind of differently. Countries are more so they're aware of the choices we're all making together,
mhm,
and they're making these choices together, right?
mhm,
They're not making them in a vacuum for themselves.
right.
I think that the European countries, to be very blunt, speaking as an American again, know the support and benefit they get by having to rely on America in certain aspects,
Mhm.
and enabling uh, technology to be here, and then benefiting from it over there while they make other choices, and then they provide value back to us as well. I mean,
Right.
some of the most intelligent engineers we have in America are from these other countries that have made these choices,
Right.
because you get people that are more intelligent
Right.
when you have people who are taken care of, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the same time, you see, there is a lot of progress. If you just compare Europe with Israel,
Sure.
there are amazing companies like Fiverr, like which are still headquartered there and performing great. So not only that, but I think another major part of before we wrap up is that perception, at the end of the day, perception marketing, and perception is always bigger than reality. And
Totally.
more so now, because attention is the only way to
Resource we truly
scale it,
have. Yeah.
gauge it. Yes, yes. So and again, that perception factor rolls out even when it comes to tariffs or equity in terms of and of course the overall effect how VCs or any investor decides whether it is on stock exchange or whether it is startups.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say
Yeah.
is I think one of the biggest takeaways as we meander through these topics is that, well, we're going to run out of time. It's okay.